The Amex Gold card is one of the most hyped, but also misunderstood credit cards out there. Many carry it, but I'd argue most don't get the full value out of the credit card. Between those use it or lose it credits and the annual fee, many cardholders are leaving serious value on the table. But if you know how to work this card like I do, it can be one of the most rewarding cards in your wallet. So in this video, I'll show you how to get more value out of the card than most other Amex Gold cardholders by making best use of the credits, maximizing dining and grocery spend, and redeeming your points for travel the smart way. Hey everyone, it's me, Quaker, your credit scientist here, and welcome to my award lab, where I teach you the science of miles and points. As we dive in, definitely like and subscribe for more, and if you know anyone that could use some credit help, then definitely share us with them. So the elephant in the room is definitely the card's annual fee, which is $325, definitely on the higher end for more of a mid-level card. It's also hovering more towards that premium level, like the Venture X, for example, is only $7 more and gets you things like lounge access and other travel perks. But the Gold card does have a number of credits to help you offset that annual fee. If you would honestly use them organically, then your effective annual fee is negative $99. But we'll jump into each of them so you can see if that math makes sense for you. The first one is a credit worth $120 for Uber. This one's split into $10 every single month. So after you add your Amex Gold card to Uber account, you'll get $10 each month into your account as Uber Cash. Now, I live in New York and don't have a car. I take the subway normally, but every now and then I do use rideshare. So this credit isn't that hard for me to use. The credit also works with Uber Eats. So if there's a meal that I'm going to get anyways, I can do it through Uber Eats pickup and use credit that way as well. Do note that sometimes prices within Uber Eats can cost more than with the merchant, so keep that in mind. If that's the case, then just discount the credit or eat somewhere else. Next up, you get a dining credit worth $120. This one's also split into $10 each month. As of filming, the credit works with Grubhub, Wine.com, Goldbelly, Cheesecake Factory, and Five Guys. I dine out pretty frequently, so this one's also easy for me to take the full advantage of. Most months, I just do Grubhub pickup for a meal that I was going to get anyways. But like Uber Eats, double check and make sure you're not paying extra just to use the credit. For example, this skirt steak sandwich from Mangia in Midtown Manhattan costs $14.95 directly with Mangia, and it's the same price in the Uber Eats app, still $14.95. So this will be a good use of the credit. However, like Uber Eats, this may not be the case with all restaurants, so always double check. Another credit is $100 per year for Resi. This one's split into two semi-annual credits worth $50 each. So between January and June, you get $50, and then between July and December, you get a second $50. Resi is a restaurant reservation platform, and this credit works with restaurants that are on there. You don't have to make a reservation, just pay with your Gold card at any of those restaurants, and a credit should trigger. If you're like me living in a major city, then Resi restaurants are pretty prevalent. So looking at the map here for New York, there's a really wide selection. There's been times even I've gone to places I didn't know were on Resi and gotten the credit as a surprise a few days later. Looking at other major cities, they all appear to have a good selection, which is good to see. If you live in the suburbs or in an area without a big Resi footprint, then this credit could be harder to use, but it is semi-annual, so at least you got some time to use it. Maybe for a date night into the city, you could use it then. Lastly, you do get credit for Dunkin'. This one's worth $84, split into $7 per month. Now, personally, I wouldn't go to Dunkin' as part of my natural spending, so I value this one at $0, but if you like Dunkin', then it's nice to have. Here in the Northeast, Dunkin's are pretty prevalent, but moving more towards the West Coast, they're not as common. So if you live on the West Coast, it could be annoying, but you can just reload your Dunkin' app each month, and that does trigger the credit. That's what I do. And then if you ever find yourself in a city with a Dunkin', you could just splurge and use it then. I do use the credit each month to not waste it. Dunkin' does sometimes have those $5 or $6 meal deals, so I'll use it for those. But again, I wouldn't go to Dunkin' as part of my natural spending, and that's why I value this one at $0. So jumping to our Blackboard to do some math, if you value the Uber, dining, Resi, and Dunkin' credits at their full value, coming out ahead by about $99. Because I don't care about Dunkin', I don't quite hit that number, but still ahead of the annual fee, so that's a win in my book. Like I mentioned earlier, make sure with these credits that you'd actually use them as part of your natural spending. If you're forcing yourself to use them each month because you wouldn't normally use them, you're just wasting money. Also, these credits are use it or lose it. They don't roll over monthly, and you have to enroll in each of them. So make sure you do that. Looking at the current bonus as of filming, you can get as high as 100,000 points after you spend $6,000 in your first 6 months. That's worth about $1,000 at 1 cent per point, but you can get much more value out of that if you know how to transfer your points, but more on that later. Note that Amex might not give you the sub as the language does say as high as, so keep that in mind. To some, having to juggle these monthly and semi-annual credits might seem like a lot of work, but for the multipliers and other benefits, it could make sense. First up, you get 4x on dining and 4x on grocery. Pretty much all of the cards out there with grocery or dining multipliers max out at 3x unless you're getting 5x on the City Custom Cash, for example. So it's nice to get 4x here. Like I said before, I dine out pretty frequently, so getting 4x on that spend is pretty nice. I also can't cook very well, so I do utilize CookUnity and I get 4x on that too. Also, when I'm out with friends, I'll often volunteer to pay the whole bill, and have everyone Zelle or Venmo me their cuts and get even more points that way. The app Tab is really good at splitting checks, not sponsored at all, but I'll link that down below too. Beyond dining and grocery, the card also does have some travel benefits. For one, you do get 3x on all flights booked with the airline and also booked on Amex Travel. I've paired my Gold card with Adventure X, so if I ever can't find a flight in the Capital One travel portal, but I can still get 3x on that flight with the Gold card. In the past, you have gotten 3x on checked bag fees and also by paying for the taxes and fees on award flights. Lastly, you get 2x on hotels and other travel booked through Amex Travel, and 1x everywhere else. Now, if you have lots of dining and grocery spend, but you just can't stomach that annual fee or know you won't use the credits organically, then the Capital One Saver card could be a good option. Even more so if you have a Venture card, as you can turn the cash back earned on the Saver into more powerful Capital One miles for travel. The Saver earns 3% cash back on dining and groceries, but also on entertainment and streaming. It also has no annual fee. Looking now at a few other Gold card benefits, one is a $100 experience credit for stays booked within the hotel collection. Note there is a $2 minimum, and hotels here do skew more mid-level to upscale. This one doesn't hurt you if you don't use it, but if you do value stays like this, then it could be nice. Also, you can be covered for lost, stolen, or damaged baggage. Just make sure to read the fine print and do your own research, as this is not insurance advice, and make sure you're covered. Also, despite limited acceptance abroad, the card does have no foreign transaction fees. One more benefit with Amex cards is Rakuten, which is a shopping rewards platform that lets you earn cash back on online purchases. What's nice though is you can turn the cash back that you earn with those purchases into Amex points when you cash them out. So if you have an Amex card like the Gold and you shop online frequently and you're targeting travel, then yeah, it's definitely good to have this enabled. Rakuten is free to use, so if you want to try it out, I'll leave my referral link down below the like and subscribe buttons in the description. Overall, Amex points are pretty powerful, especially if you transfer them out to partners and avoid using them for a statement credit or within the Amex portal itself. Amex does have a list of partners you can send your points to. So, for example, 1,000 Amex points can turn into 1,000 Delta Sky miles or Cathay Asia miles, for example. For some travel I have upcoming in December, I booked Qatar Airways Q Suites and also Condor Business Class, both using Amex points. Now, this was back when they did have Hawaiian Airlines as a partner, so you could send miles to Hawaiian, then to Alaska to book. And Alaska does get really good awards for their partners. That's gone now, but Amex does still have really good upside with their existing partners. One decent one is Flying Blue, which is Air France KLM's rewards program. You could fly from the US to Europe for only 60k points in business class if you can find availability. So you transfer 60k Amex points to Flying Blue and then use them as Flying Blue miles. Looking at the calendar here, we can see there is a date for 60k from Houston to Paris this September. Normally, I search for award fares one way, as a seat might be available on your outbound flight but not your inbound flight. But when doing our cent per point calculations, it is often smart to use the round trip fare and divide by 2 because one-way fares by themselves are often inflated. For example, using our cent per point calculation with the one-way price that's over $8,000 doesn't make any sense when a round trip fare that departs on the same date is only $5,600. So we take this more realistic cost, divide by 2 to get our true one-way cost. Then subtracting $243 in taxes and fees we'll have to pay, then dividing by 60k points needed for this booking, and multiplying by 100, we get 4.3 cents per point, well above my personal threshold of 2 cents per point for international business class. If you're eyeing Asia travel, then Cathay could be a decent option. Looking at this date here in September, we can see one way from Hong Kong to LAX in business class would cost us 88,000 points or 125,000 miles if we flew first class, both at about 160 US in taxes and fees. Round trip business is around 6,500, with first just over 29k. So for business, taking that round trip price and dividing by 2, then taking away tax and fees and dividing by 88,000 points, we get 3.53 cents per point, which is really good. And now for the first class fare, dividing that by 2 to get our true one-way price, taking away tax and fees we have to pay, and then dividing by the points required, we get a redemption value of 11.49 cents per point, which is really high. Now, do some ultimate credit card math here. If you'd earn all those points from getting 4x on dining and grocery spend on the Gold card, you'd effectively get right around 4-6% back on that spend. Now, I'd never pay 5 figures out of pocket for this flight, so that does kind of negate that math that I just did there, but it does illustrate what upside you do get with travel credit cards. And I like seeing the science and the behind the scenes of how powerful these cards can be, as you'll never get value like this out of a cashback setup. Award deals can be hard to find, but down below the like and subscribe buttons, I'll link a few award search tools that I've used in the past. Down below, I'll also leave a free transfer partner guide, so you can see what other partners Amex transfers to, but also what other partners the other major banks have. Also, if a more in-depth video going over how to best find redemptions for Amex points would be helpful, then let me know down below. So there's a review of the Amex Gold and how I get the most value out of it that I can. Really, if you dine out frequently or have high grocery spend and will organically use the credits, this card is definitely a keeper card. If you're still watching, leave a burger emoji in the comments and I'll try to like it and respond. If you hold this card, tell us why you like it and what redemptions you've gotten with it. If you don't have the card, if you're considering it, let us know. Ask any questions down below too. I'm here to help. Once again, thank you all for joining me in my award lab. My name is Kwaku, your credit scientist, and I will see you all in the next one.